Okay, now they can hear me, right?
which means they should be able to hear me.
Not necessarily yet. Hold on. I need to
Hey,
get.
Bob, I'm talking.
Okay, I
Oh,
need.
you're right. Not if it's audio input capture. Yes,
I now I need to get the
of course.
desktop. Now I need to get the desktop audio in.
Yep.
Uh,
DM Stretch is coming in with a party of five. Lone Bear says yes,
audio
all
input.
included.
Add existing. No, I need to create a new.
I need to watch myself scratch my chin and then 3 seconds later, scratch my chin.
That is the dumbest thing.
It's kind of funny. Miss Scone is just laughing at me in the background.
Settings, audio, desktop
Oranges at the
audio.
gate. Bob will be with
There
you
it goes.
momentarily.
Okay, how about now?
1, 2. Can you hear me now? Siobhan saying, sound? You hear Kahuna? Bob and Kahuna together? That's right. The apocalypse has arrived.
Okay, I just have to. I'm just adjusting a few levels real quick.
What happens when you put Bob and Kahuna on the same stream? Shenanigans. That's what's going to happen. Shenanigans.
Okay, there's the desktop audio. There's my audio. We should be both about the same and about right. Now we're ready to go. How about
Yay!
that?
All right,
Oh,
so thanks all for coming. Hope y'all enjoy your new regions.
you missed a wonderful story about cardboard cutouts getting hit by home run balls.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh
so anyway,
man.
let's get started. We're all looking at the map of Synergasia that you've all seen before with the regions marked out. And everybody is waiting to find out whose name gets to go in what region.
Who gets what?
So without further ado, let us get started. First
All
thing we
right.
want to say is what we did was we took that original map and we broke it up into seven, actually eight. Um, we call them time zones, but of course we're not talking about like Eastern time or Pacific time here. Each of the different regions that you see shaded in different ways here represents a different technological era. They range from the Neolithic, just breaking into Bronze Age, up to two areas that represent the relatively far future. One of those two being post apocalyptic, and the other one being a little more happy, shall we say. At least if there was an apocalypse, it was so long ago that it's been fixed.
It's the happy region.
Yeah, now we don't have one of those regions doesn't have any assignments yet, but we have them ready there just in case we have any new people that want to join us once they see how much fun we're all having. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the time zones, and as we hit each time zone, we're going to identify who's in those time zones and what exact regions you get. So, let us get started.
Yay!
We begin in the Stone Age. Um,
With
so
the caveman time.
this is yeah. Actually, I think both of our participants in this zone are planning on the time period when we're just getting out of Neolithic and into early Bronze. You know, metal has been discovered, but you know we'll find out more about that as the worlds get built. Let us begin with Region 20. Kahuna,
Okay,
tell us about Region 20.
and one thing I want to make clear is these are the base regions. The only things that cannot change on regions at this point um, are things like mountain ranges, because we use them as borders between regions. Um,
We
Coastlines,
we can add
especially.
mountain ranges.
Yes, you can add mountain ranges. We just can't change the ones that are there because most of them are being used for. Let's make it easy. Anything that's being used as a region border cannot be changed. Within the borders of your region, it's your region. You want to make a giant hole in the middle of it, you can. And as we go, I will have these files available that if anybody wants to modify them on their own, absolutely they can. So moving on. Region 20. Region 20 is one of the larger regions in terms of landmass. It is bordered to the north by a great circular mountain range that acts as a natural barrier to the west, north, and east. To the south, it has a vast coastline and an inland sea that is ripe for seafaring hijinks. The southeast of the region has temperate forests and jungle terrain, while the west and northwest are arid and even include desert terrain. And who gets Region 20?
And the winner for Region 20 is Dizzy Backspin, with a region that he has tentatively named the Kalis. And if I mess up your region name pronunciations, I apologize.
It's Bob's fault.
It went too far.
It went too far? What do you mean? What do you mean it went too far?
Hold on.
I'm waiting.
I double-clicked when I should have single-clicked. Let's go. Let's do that again.
Hey, welcome.
Who hates PowerPoint?
Thanks for joining us. And
okay, there we go. Dizzy Backspin, the Kalis. Yay. Next up is Region 17.
Region 17. Maybe we should rehearse this next time.
Nah.
Nah.
No, because the only way to rehearse it is to do it on a Twitch stream, and everybody joins in as soon as they see we're on.
Good point. All right, Region 17, maybe perhaps the most forbidding region of Synergasia. It has less than 200 miles of coastline, and access to the interior is across a narrow swath of land bordered to the north and west by mountains, and is also bifurcated by yet another range and bordered on the east with another. The terrain is arid and harsh. Only the very hardiest of people will survive. And who gets?
And who gets this one?
Region 17.
That would be Rico Te Seduce, with a region called the Great White Peaks.
That's really appropriate because
Yeah.
the mountain ranges along this one are really high. They're really high. So it's a big contrast from the arid desert base areas to really high peaks that actually will still have snow on them. So it's going to be an interesting place, but it is harsh territory.
Yep. And that will do it for the Neolithic period. We now move into the Iron Age classical era. We're talking the kind of time, give or take, let's say anywhere from ancient Greece up until fall of Rome. That sort of range. And we have one player in this region, in this time zone, and that person is getting Region 26.
You skipped one.
Did I? No.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm reading the scene numbers, not the region numbers. My bad. My bad. Again.
See, we do have a script. It's just useless. Yeah.
I'm just going to read what I feel like it. All right, Region 26. Region 26 is mostly a maritime region with a fair amount of coastline on the mainland side and a small island chain to the east. It sits primarily in a temperate zone, and the islands are thick with jungle where not tamed by civilization. The region also commands a great deal of ocean, and of particular note, runs right up against a temporal border to the north and east. Who gets Region 26?
Okay, and in case he hasn't figured it out already yet, this is Dazzlecat with Aquilanus, our undersea kingdom. I do expect we're going to need to put a mountain or two on top of those islands for Daz, but
oh, that's easy.
But other than that, I think he'll be happy with this region.
Mountain, volcano, whatever. And pretty much where you see that the map gets darker on the east side of those islands and along that northern edge, um, almost all of that is going to be that temporal border. So if your people try to cross it, even underwater,
Fun
they're in
things
for
will
some
happen.
surprises. Yes, it's going to be a surprise.
Yep.
All right, who's
Okay.
up next?
So now we move into another era. Now we leap into the fantasy, the pure fantasy world. This is the, let's call it Dark Age, Middle Age, Euro fantasy. We're talking Lord of the Rings kind of stuff here. This is actually one of the bigger regions that we have set up, and because we anticipated lots of entries here, and we got one. So, and that one is going to Region 16. Tell us about Region 16.
Region 16 is a mountainous region. It sits solidly in a temperate zone with northern ocean exposure. To the south, two mountain ranges intersect with a third, creating nearly impassable barriers with other regions. The tall and rugged peaks are a result of this continent being squeezed between multiple continental rift zones, pushing towards the middle of the continent. And who gets Region 16?
Should point out, by the way, this region is a good 2,000 miles long from top to bottom.
Yeah, these are not small regions. You've got plenty to play with here.
So there's plenty of room to play with there. And who's going to get to play? This is Rabid Candy Void and the Faceted Realms.
The Faceted Realms are going to be in Region 16. And note, depending on how much you want to do this and how much Bob and I decide to play Godzilla, that area at the very south, the southern point, that is where the three mountain ranges come together. That would, by nature, be a very active seismic zone. But because this region is so big, again, about 2,000 miles from top to bottom, you could have earthquakes in that region that were not felt anywhere else. They would be, central and fairly central into that continent. So they might get felt in Region 17, which is right over the mountain range, which of course, that set of mountains right there is probably about 250, 350 miles across. So you might get, it's just an idea is that you do have an opportunity if you want to do something seismic. It doesn't get into any more seismic place than that.
Okay, moving along. We now come to the the time zone that will cover, let's say, a Renaissance, possibly early Age of Sail, through to the very early 1800s at the latest. We have one player here, and that one player did inspire the selection for the background image here. That's all I will say for now. But first, let us introduce Region 10.
Region 10 is located on the far northeast ends of its landmass, with climates ranging from subarctic to temperate. It features a long eastern coastline as well as a mountain range for most of its western border. It shares a land border with Region 9, but there is no physical barrier between them. And who gets Region 10?
Yeah, and again, this region is a good 2,000 miles top to bottom.
Yep.
And about 1,500 miles across. So plenty of room to set up the kind of warlike area that I believe is in mind for Moondare and Francalia or Fransalia. I'm not sure which way you prefer to pronounce it.
Yeah, in some of these regions, we have intentionally left non-physical barriers. So that whole area along the top of it, from mountains to the ocean, there is nothing physical there. Now, we can put in a river, for example. If that's something you want to have as a border, we can do that because there's nobody in the next region to affect at the moment. So we could put a river along and basically inside of your region, but along that border. But there isn't anything else that would be a major barrier to crossing into the other region or having trade with the other region, etc.
Yeah, and again, this region, it might be angled a little funny, but this region's about the same. This isn't too much smaller than Europe. So if you're thinking about putting countries in and letting them fight it out, there's plenty of room for it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Who's
moving
next?
on again. we now come to the late 1800s, the late age of sail, and also the Victorian era. This will feature also Victorian era type steampunk, Gothic horror, and it is our most populated time zone. So let's start with the first entry. And the first entry is Region 5.
Region 5 is a good candidate for seafaring cultures. It's bordered on the west by mountains, and most of the region is bordered by seas. It has a border with Region 6 that is not a natural border. Biomes from subarctic to tropical are found in this region. It also shares a border with Region 3, but this is a temporal border, and those who have chosen to cross it are usually not heard from again. And who gets?
And the proud owner of Region 5 is Michael Chandra and Greyburn. Okay, and now let's see who is just across that border that doesn't have a physical boundary. Let us look at region number 6.
Region 6 is a long, narrow region bordered by mountains on the east and ocean for most of the rest of the border. It does have a land border with Region 5, which is not natural. It also borders Region 32 on its southern coast and includes a small island landmass that is nearly surrounded by Regions 8 and 32. The island landmass is very seismically active as it borders an undersea rift and an undersea rift travels directly under Region 8. The region features climbs from subarctic to jungle and desert heat. Who gets that one?
And the recipient of Region 6 and the neighbor of Michael Chandra will be Patricia Jane, whose region has not yet been named.
Or at least we haven't figured it out.
At least we haven't gotten a name.
The area that, you can see those two little islands down there. If you can see that the blue area underneath it is slightly disturbed, that would be part of the ocean rifts underneath that whole area. And the big part is to the south of that, just off the map, is where the deepest rifts are. And shake it up. The dog agrees.
Yep. Okay.
Who's next?
Now we're going to jump to the other side of Region 5 and take a look at Region 4.
Region 4 is a fairly well isolated area as it sits between two major mountain ranges. Biomes range from subarctic to desert. Located in between two mountain ranges, the western side of the region sits in a rain shadow with dry, arid conditions. As one moves east, the climate becomes steadily more amenable to agriculture and farming. To the north, where the two mountain ranges meet, the climate grows colder and more temperate with thick forests. To the south, there is a large bay with a narrower mouth that can be a boon to trade. And who is getting Region 4?
And for Region 4, we have Lucifer Shot, another unnamed region. Macaro, in case you're interested, I will tell you that the two on your either end have both chosen Gothic horror as their genre. And I know you love that so much. So.
Yeah, we're gonna sandwich him right in between those two, aren't we? Yep. Yes, that's what we do.
Okay, and now it's time to move on yet again to the modern age, but particularly modern with magic. Now, if we have other people come in later, they can choose to do modern without magic. That would be perfectly up to them. But our one entrant is going modern era Magitech. I believe the target is within the past 20 years or so as a zone. And that person will be playing in Region 24.
Region 24 is a tropical region with a great deal of temperate forest to go with it. The closer to the mountains, the more the biomes change from tropical to temperate. The southern tip gets near subarctic regions, and can occasionally see very cold weather. The western side of the region can be very damp as prevailing winds off the ocean bring moisture ashore and up into the mountains. As a whole, the mountains are not tall enough to create a rain shadow on the east side, but there is nonetheless less moisture in the east. And who's getting Region
And
24?
this
They
is
probably
another one
figured it
again.
out.
If you look at that map scale, this one is a good 3,500 miles north to south.
Yeah.
This is like farther across than the U.S. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's plenty of space to play with on
yeah,
these.
exactly. Yeah, I mean they're not as small as they look. And the person who will be playing here is Drakni Water Whisperer, who we know as Dragon Lovewater on Twitch,
Yay!
with Umwelnid.
Unwelned. Well, I think that was a combination of like English and German, if I remember right. It was like a mash of English and German. And what else would you mash with that? Let's see.
Okay.
So congratulations.
So now we move on to the last one of our time zones that has people playing along. And as soon as I find my mouse cursor, there we go. And we are now in the far future, non-apocalyptic. All right, and magic is involved in at least one of these, if not both. But let us begin by looking at Region 3.
Region 3 covers much ground from north to south, bordered by a mountain range to the east and a sea to the west. The western part of the country is seismically active. Biomes range from subarctic to desert. The western coast runs parallel to a continental rift. As such, it is subject to earthquakes and the potential for tsunamis. A temporal barrier region runs along the eastern mountain range, separating this region from the rest of the continent. And who gets?
So yes,
Region 3.
who gets the California coast?
Yeah.
That would be Cassia.
Cassia gets it. Congratulations.
With the region of Atavia.
You got plenty to play with. Plenty to play with. You've got subarctic and even pushing Arctic regions right at the north. And it's because it's so close to the ocean, the whole, everything to the west of the mountains is pretty much either temperate or tropical. You're not, so you've got plenty.
You can do anything you want there, yeah.
Yep.
And again, this is future, so they can modify things. Well, let's jump on to Region 2 because I touched my mouse. Region 2 is next up.
You mouse. Region 2 is a large island continent with biomes in the temperate to tropical zones. Its main feature is a large caldera in the center of the continent, nearly 100 miles in diameter. No one knows when this caldera was last active. The continent also sits on the edge of the continental rift zone and is prone to frequent seismic activity and occasional tsunami. The primary biome is jungle, with some more forested areas along the continent's mountain ridges. And who is going into Region 2?
And again, it being future, if you don't want jungle, you can have tamed the jungle. And that volcano can be long extinct, but it should serve the purposes requested by Isaac Thompson for Utramorch.
Woohoo! Yeah, that in the middle, it can be a volcano. I have it written up as a caldera, so it's just think, the Yellowstone Basin, where there might be a super volcano that could blow anytime.
Yeah, Isaac actually specifically asked for a huge mountain right in the middle of the zone. So,
yep.
Again, if you wish it to be extinct, that's your prerogative.
Region 4 is Zagalar.
So normally, this would be the end.
Yeah, that normally would be the end.
But as in all things in life, we have a wonderful group here. We've gone through the 11 people who submitted on time. But as with all things in life, as I was saying, there's always one in the crowd. And because we, of course, have our one in the crowd as well, we need to take a jump back to the Victorian era and take a look at Region 7.
Region 7 is a large section of landmass located between two mountain ranges. Climes range from subarctic to temperate. There are two coastlines, north and south, And the area along the southern coastline tends to be more dry due to the rain shadow created by the western mountain range. And who was our straggler that got?
And the straggler is Scribe of Nakoti, with the region
Welcome.
of Ophelia or Ophelia or something like that.
And I think if I remember you asking, Scribe, can it be something like the Pacific Northwest? Sure. I mean, especially if you look at the areas to the north, near the northern coastline, or along the south near the mountain ridge and the coastline, those areas would be prone to a lot of moisture. Definitely the farther north it is, the colder it's going to get, but anywhere along that eastern mountain range would be cooler, wetter than say the more southern regions. So if you want something that's Pacific Northwest, welcome.
Okay. I haven't been paying much attention to the chat, but I have to point out that apparently E Songbird had no idea that Scribe of Nakoti was submitting an entry.
Dun dun dun. Scribe has kept it quiet.
Okay.
Apparently.
So
Scribe
brings
only submitted today, so
yeah, it was either late last night or today. I didn't even notice it. Somebody actually pointed it out to us after we thought we had our scripts finished. So it's that recent. So that brings us that runs us through the 12 subscribers that we have. I hope I didn't just skip a map. I don't think so. We're back now looking at the world, and if you remember what your region looks like, you can now see how they all fit together a little more clearly. Hoping I didn't just skip over a scene, that it's actually the next one up on my list. But I do want to point out, you'll notice that the ones that look like they have lots of color and detail are, for the most part, the ones that have some green in them anyway, are the regions that we have defined. The ones that are the pale, bland color, those are regions that are still available. So again, especially to those of you who are watching that have not submitted anything, if you are interested, there is or was no deadline. You can submit us a concept, and we will put you in one of those empty regions. All right, and to make it clearer, the regions that you see on the map now are the regions that are available. All right, we've cut out the ones we assigned. So
yeah, except for Region 7.
Except for Region 7, because yeah.
So, but there is still a piece of land up there. It's Region 9 on the very top of that continent there. That is available. But yeah, if it's not in black, it's available to you.
Yep.
For your very own region.
All right. And this only took us a half an hour. We figured it was going to be a full hour. So you know what? I'm gonna leave this screen up for the moment.
Okay.
And let's see now. Does anybody have any questions or whatever? You know what? I'm gonna go one more screen just because sooner or later I'm gonna have to.
You're gonna tap the mouse.
I'm gonna tap the mouse and it's gonna go off anyway, right? So this was actually the screen that we were going to start doing our wrap-up talk. So we're going to just kind of talk through it, because what's going to happen now any second is we'll start to see, just again so everybody can see where it is that they are on the map. The various names are zooming into the regions that they will be living in. All right, so everybody can see exactly where things are and where things are going. And there's Scribe too, yeah. Actually, Moondare should be a little farther down. I think there's a piece of zone north of Moondare.
Yeah, it's like right along the border of the two zones right now. But yeah, it's a little farther south.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good time if you guys have questions on what you can do, because now we can answer the questions.
Yes, now we can answer the questions. I'm going to make sure my mouse is off that screen entirely, and I should be okay to actually track things.
Yeah, Isaac is a continent. Yes.
Okay, I'm jumping back to some E-Song here because it's funny, yeah. Um, he's cheating on me with world building. Clearly, I need to start leaving work earlier. This is all Esong talking about Scribe sneaking in. Good thing I trust all of you. But then she had a phone call. She had to leave. Isaac, now how many countries can I cram on my island? As many as you'd like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moondeer would like an inland sea. Do you mean large lake, or do you need something that'll touch the coast? I mean, either one can be accommodated.
Correct.
We can make adjustments if we need to all of these. Sure. Dazzly Cat, it's a big island, bigger than Australia, which I didn't go all the way back up to see. Isaac is a continent. Yes, that's true. Yeah, that all of these land masses are quite large. The map you're looking at now is 24,000 miles from left to right.
Right.
Which is, let me do my 40,000 kilometers. So.
Yeah, in that neighborhood.
So yeah, it's 40,000 kilometers. So you can do the quick slicing and dicing yourself to see how big across each of these regions really are. They are quite large. There should be plenty of room to break things up into countries. Moondeer, a huge central lake. Okay, no problem.
And as a reminder, I'm going to drop in the excuse me, the link to my Discord channel. If you haven't joined it already, please do, because there is a specific Synergasia set of channels in there. And if you haven't joined, then I have no way of giving you access to those channels. If you have joined and I haven't given you access, shoot me a DM on Discord and say, hey, get with the program.
Right.
But let me make sure I've got an invite.
And there are still two people I think that we need to make editors in the world. That would be Lucifer and Scribe, of course, because Scribe just jumped in. At least for the time being, we're giving everybody editor access so that we can get some of the major things set up, like timelines and a few of the other special odds and ends that you may or may not be interested in. At some point, this is something actually Kahuna and I still need to talk about. There have been some questions about, ownership and Creative Commons rights and all that kind of good stuff. One of the downsides to making everybody editors is that it gives everybody access to everybody's articles, whether they're in draft, private, public, which is why, for example, that Makara Chandra was able to know everything that you've just seen and heard on this chat, on this stream, because he found the script article earlier today. So we may back that down to author once things again once the major mess of getting our region set up settles down, and everybody starts getting into writing the story of your region as opposed to the infrastructure of your region. We might back that down. We'll see. We want to make sure everybody has whatever access they need to do what they want to do. But at the same time, we do want to make sure that if you want something to be private, that it can actually be private and that sort of thing. There's a balance that has to be played here because we are all working in the same world. So we'll have to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we'll figure that out as we go along. This was designed to be fun and also to get your creative juices flowing. So we weren't really thinking about those kind of nasty real world things.
Right. So Aegon asks, so it's about as big as Earth, but more land. It's actually pretty close to the same amount of land. I think you seeded it with 40% land.
Yep.
So I think Earth is about 37 or something like that. So it's not that far off.
We just don't, on this, we don't have, polar regions.
True.
We don't have Antarctica. We don't have the Arctic specifically. So you're just spreading the land out a little more. So it looks bigger. But if you want to get an idea of how we were putting things together and how I was imagining these continental rift zones and everything, there is one of the layers you can click on is the tectonic layer, and it will show you where the rifts are in the oceans as well as where the the ridges are along the continents, so you can get an idea what direction things are moving. So, for example, when I said that Region 16 has that area where everything comes together, well, that's because it's basically surrounded by rifts. So, it was I actually did think about how these things would press together and move up as opposed to separating in the oceans, and which was fun to do.
Oh, Scribe got here late, by the way. He missed his bit. So yes, you're gonna have to watch the VOD, which will be available as soon as we're done here. It'll be on my channel, by the way. I will move it over to YouTube, but if you want to catch it just as soon as we wrap up here, it'll still be on Twitch as recorded. Let's see, what else do we have? I wanted to point out something, by the way. One of the regions that we were sure somebody was going to jump all over, but nobody did. Right in the middle here, it's kind of hard to see. But this whole mess of little islands is part of the Age of Sail zone. So if there are any would-be pirates out there, we have a perfect region for you.
Yeah. In fact, we talked about, Age of Sail is one of the places we have to have islands for these guys.
Yeah.
And so I created them, and they're right along the rift zone. They're kind of geologically patterned after the Hawaiian Islands, where along the rift they continue to grow, and nobody took it.
E Songbird says, "I call dibs if my life gets back in order."
Now that we've let the secret out.
What else do we got? Isaac was saying, yeah, plenty of room for lots of countries, especially when we get a bunch of magic articles with similar names. What am I missing? I'm missing something there too, because I'm kind of trying to catch up on the fly.
Says,
I'm not going to do the Sable Aradia 15 minutes behind the chat catch up thing. Sorry, Sable.
Aegon says they have decided to join. All
yes.
right, send us that
Okay.
article.
Excellent. He said there's plenty of room. And by the way, should we have room? Our limiting factor, believe it or not, is not regions.
Nope.
It is authors. Although now that there are editors, I don't know, is there a limit anymore?
Yep. It still counts.
It's still the same?
Yep.
So we have room for eight more or 13 more?
Let's see. So we were at 12, and we can go to 25. So we actually have room for 13 more if we.
So we have room for 13 more, yeah. And should we get more than that, we will create Synergasia 2. It will be the same physical map, but the time zones may not be in the same places.
In other words, it will be just an alternate universe version of Synergasia. So you will have the physical features will be the same, with the exception of what zones we put people into, because, again, like we did here, we wanted to keep similar regions together. I am absolutely still shocked of how many we got in that Victorian era zone. That would have been the last one I expected. I expected a lot more in the fantasy area.
And we still have a bunch of room in the fantasy area. If we have to move the temporal borders, we'd rather not, but we will if we have to. Because, for example, the Victorian zone is actually full right now. If we get another Victorian, then we'll probably start slicing off. I would still leave. We have the islands, actually. I take that back. So the islands are available. And if we have to, we can start slicing off little chunks of this thing here. There are actually a couple of regions in this little piece down here that we could give over to that if we need to. So,
and the other thing that's, because I see that Esong saying she might join back in. Here's the thing, Esong specifically asked for a kind of region, if I remember correct, that was underwater.
Well, I know Daz wanted the underwater.
Right, and I think Esong had mentioned it too. I could be wrong.
Esong as well. Yeah,
I think Esong as well. And the thing is, I created Area 32 specifically for that. It has one island, and then the rest of it's water. So it's almost completely underwater. So I think when Daz made their description, they wanted more coastline and some land. So there's a lot less land in 32.
Mm.
Yes, yeah. Isong says yes. I was also underwater, which is why the area with islands is so tempting. Entirely possible. 8 or 32 are both great areas for underwater. Yeah. So, and the other thing is, especially on the other underwater ones, there are still areas on this planet that haven't been carved up yet. We have areas where there's no regions, especially in the ocean areas. So, and it would be very, very easy to add small island style continents or island style regions in all of that ocean. So,
Yeah. We also, by the way, have two wonderful big islands over here in the top right corner, just waiting for our post-apocalyptic future, by the way.
Yeah.
So the zombie apocalypse can be on one of those. There it goes. Uh-huh. All right, hold on. We'll get back.
You hit the mouse, didn't you?
No, I didn't. It actually, the screen timed out.
Oh, it's been done now.
There we go. We're going to get to watch the name spin back in again, but other than that.
Yay! We're festive.
Oh, I love technology. So anyway, like I said, we have a perfect nuclear winter island up here, and we have a perfect zombie apocalypse island down here. So if anybody's interested in those, and again, if we need to, we can move those into one of the other zones if they're not used. So we will accommodate whatever we have to do. Jumping back again real quick, Isaac mentioned we're going to need to do a little more work with the categories because some people might be creating, for example, item articles, magic items or whatever that sound alike. So we're still going to have to do a little meta infrastructure work, I think, to make this whole thing go. We have set up there is a regions tab of categories. I was wondering whether we want to actually put in time zone categories above them and then distribute them in. That way it'll be easier for somebody coming to the homepage to zoom in on something they're more interested in.
Yeah, we can definitely do that, and then so there might be multiple regions categories based on the time zone they're in. And the thing is, once you have your region set up, and now a lot of you have got that, one of the things I'm going to do is just a housekeeping piece over the next couple of days is your region I will go into the region category or into your individual region and tack on the map for that region as a link so that it's automatically referenced back, and I will change the tags, the map pins to reflect the region name as opposed to a number. However, if you feel like doing that, guess what? You have access to it too. So you can go in and say, hey, I'm in region 5. I want to go ahead and change that pin. Go in and change it. You can change the description. Make it work for you. You guys have, the only thing you guys don't have access to, and this is something that somebody pointed out on the Discord server, is the only thing you can't do is global changes to the world. You can't do global CSS. You can do CSS per article, but you can't do global CSS. You can't change assignments of editors and stuff like that. That's just Bob and I. But everything that you can write about, everything you can do, you have the same access because of us. You have the same access as a guild member. Technically, it's actually Sage level. You can actually even go in and change the URL of a page because of the world. Now, again, this is only applicable to Synergasia. You can't go onto your world and do anything. But because you're attached to Synergasia, you can do that in Synergasia. We're just asking that you be kind and respectful, and don't go changing.
Yeah. Now, as far as the global CSS, we will both be working to anything that needs to go into global CS. Well, what we'll probably do is use the class and section and article. There's ways that we can allow you to easily customize your CSS without having to copy something into every article, or at least without having to copy a whole block of CSS into articles. If there are things that we have to put in the global CSS for you to facilitate that, we will. We would rather not have to create the CSS from your concept, though. We would prefer that you kind of test drive it yourself and make sure it looks like you want it to on a single article, for example. And then we'll move it to the global so that all your articles and show you how with maybe no more than an entry or two, you can have all your articles make use of all of those features. So again, we'll work with everybody on that as we need to, but we do not want to become the CSS editors for 12 independent worlds.
One of the goals with this too is to get you more familiar with some of the other stuff you can do on World Anvil. CSS is a big one. Some of the sites that you see that are just really beautiful, well, they've done their work on CSS. So what you can do is create a test article, like Bob said, mess around with it.
Yeah.
Because each page has an individual CSS block that you can write your own CSS into that is only applicable to that page. Now, if you've tried something out, you really like the way it looks, and now you want to apply it to your whole world, that's where Bob and I come in to say, okay, great. Here's how we're going to move it into your world, and here's how you're going to apply it going forward. And basically, it's just a matter of creating a section of the global CSS that's specific to your region. So you test it out first, see how it works. If you have questions, I'm sure Bob will be glad to help you. The folks over on the World Anvil Discord server will help you. Come onto the Kahuna Quiet stream. I will help as much as I can. Hey, I hadn't done much in CSS.
The only thing we have to kind of watch, the people like the Freeman, for example, don't have access to the Guild CSS help channel.
True.
So if they're going to ask for help, they're going to ask for help in a general channel, and then somebody's going to tell you, why don't you take it to the Guild CSS help?
Which they can't go to, yeah.
Which they can't go to. So if you run into something like that, talk to us, and we'll at least try to help point you to the help if we can't help you.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, Bob, too, one thing we should do is, and we can do this in the nuts and bolts category, is a set of resources, a page with resources for CSS.
Yes.
Shy Red Fox has blog posts that are phenomenal for CSS.
Yeah.
W3 Schools as a reference, and all the different places that we can send you, and we can actually break it down to. If you're a Freeman, here's what's available to you. If you're a Guild member, here's some additional stuff that's available to you.
Right.
If it moves you to become a Guild member, I don't think anybody will complain about that. But this is, we'll set up stuff as we go along. We will, especially if we get the same question over and over.
Yeah.
Nuts and bolts is where we're going to put that kind of stuff, so you can find it and say, okay, this is where it is. It's kind of like the help codex.
Right. Yeah. And we could even start to include snippets of CSS that we know come up over and over again. How do I change what the quote bar looks like?
Right.
That kind of thing.
How does a background change? What's the difference between the page background and the site background? Because there are two different things.
Right.
So yeah, we can give you those little tips in there and drop them in there. But especially if we see questions that are asked all the time or frequently.
I did it again.
Now 12 of you.
I did it again.
CSS and I have a developing relationship. It's a love-hate relationship, isn't it? Yes, we know. Design my article pages or I'm out. So welcome, Scribe.
What else is going on in the chat over here? Let's see.
Esong hates CSS. Yes.
Dazzlecat has already decided his coastline is going to be Phoenicia. Excellent.
All right.
Isaac going to have to schedule time to make Utrimorch's CSS.
I will tell you, I have blown up the CSS on my personal world 5 times now. And what I mean by blowing up is literally wiped it out and started from scratch 5 times. Each time was because, oh, there's a better way to do this whole thing. And yes, then I will disappear for 2 or 3 days, and my wife will start to wonder if I've eaten, and the dogs will start to sniff at me, making sure I'm not a cadaver, and then I'll emerge with something much better than what I started with for a few weeks, and then
so
you go right back into the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So yeah, Isaac. Yeah. Do it. Set up a test page on Synergasia. If for no other reason, it'll make it easier for us to then copy it over to the main, to the global once it's done. If you created your own separate world somewhere, we wouldn't be able to get at that to port it over. So.
I mean, there are ways that we can.
Well, we can do. I mean, you can always. There's always ways to port stuff, but.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier if you do it on a test page that we can actually go into, and we can, even go in and say, okay, let's take a look at this here. Okay, here's where the error is, or here's what's not working for you.
Yeah.
Because the more that you learn about it, the better you're going to be able to really fine tune how things look.
Right.
We don't want you to all have a homogeneous look. Make it look the way you want. This is your region. This is your country. This is your area of a world. Make it look the way you want. And the more you actually dabble in this stuff and practice this stuff, the better you're going to get at it. I'm light years from where I was, 6 months ago.
Siobhan says, I am loving my guild membership. Thanks, Erin Ree and Sable Aradia. Yes, welcome to the guilds, Siobhan.
Really?
And welcome to manuscripts.
Yes. There's still some things in manuscripts that I have requests for, but yeah. And it's just me personally, not that it really matters to anybody else. Great show, sometimes how everyone works. Sean says, "Squeak."
Okay, as I'm jumping through here, yeah, just a quick little personal plug. If there is anybody on here that doesn't normally catch me at 10 o'clock in the morning or at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is 7 a.m. Pacific and stupid time Japan. That's if you haven't already followed this channel, please do. I could use all the follows I could get. And let's see. Yeah, I want to give a big hand. Scribe. Yes, Scribe. The maps are fantastic. I want to give a big hand to Kahuna.
Thank you.
He is the guy who put these maps together, broke all, built the main map, chopped out all of the region maps, custom drew all. Well, it didn't custom draw all the mountains. I don't know. You didn't custom draw all the mountains. You have.
Sort of, yeah. I have a brush.
Placed all the terrain, did all of that kind of setup. That was all Kahuna. I got to play with PowerPoint to make it look pretty for you guys to see today, and something that I could mess up 4 times as I'm doing it. But
does anyone know how to make it look like turning pages? What do you exactly mean, Siobhan? Do you mean going from article to article, or within a page, or that's something we'd have to know what you're looking for, because there's probably a solution for it. I just don't know it yet. Yeah, you had one job, Bob.
Yep.
Within an article instead of scrolling down. So there might be a way to do that. Perhaps by the next Kahuna help, I can do. Mrs. Kahuna has spoken.
It's almost 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Letting me know.
Yeah, I've got a lasagna waiting for me, by the way, too. So.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering when you start coming.
Bob says he's got a lasagna going, so we're got to move it along anyway. Yeah.
So anyway, again, to those of you who are not yet signed up, if this looks like if this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, I think we expect it will be. If you want to be a part of it, it is not too late. Now the way this is going to work going forward too, just so everybody, again, most of the people know, if you've read the We Need You article, we are going to, from time to time, no more than once a week, we are going to release, let's call it a prompt. For those of us who've done summer camp, we know what a prompt is. The first 2 are already out, but the first 2 are very, very generic. The first one was basically to describe the nature of religion in your region, Are the gods real? Do they walk the world? Do they interact with people? Are they just concepts? Do they not exist at all? We want you to kind of have that in place in your world. And the second question was the same for magic. Is there magic in your world? If so, how much? Is it commonplace? Is it non-existent? Does it have a source? That sort of thing. And again, these are very, very general backgrounds. I will give everybody. It'll be ready to be put. It'll be put up tomorrow. Maybe tonight, but it'll be but no later than tomorrow. Prompt number 3 is going to have to do with what I call subsistence living. Where do your people get their food and water? Is it magic? Do they have to grow it? Are there regions of your world that provide agriculture for cities? Again, just to start thinking about those kind of things. But people need food, water, and shelter. So the shelter might even let you, and by the way, you don't have to answer these things in one article. There might be several. I could see that the way I'm planning this next prompt, you could end up with an architecture article to talk about the buildings. What do the houses look like in a town or in a village? Again, what plants get grown, what animals get eaten, whatever. We're not grading things. There's no prizes for participation like there were in summer camp. No badges, unfortunately. Although who knows? Maybe one day we'll get Dimmy to at least have a participation badge for. He did say that they was gonna start opening up badges for groups and things, didn't he?
I thought I heard something about that.
I think I heard that. So we might very well have a Synergasia badge. Before at some point in the future. But again, the point of these prompts really are prompts. They're to get you to think about your region, and when I say your region, think like it's your own, like it's a world. It's just not round, and it's surrounded by neighbors that are doing the same thing.
I did see one question in there I wanted to quickly address.
Sure.
I think it was Rabbit asked, and that was, excuse me, when will you have access to maps? All of the maps are created with the exception of about, I think there's 6. Yeah, there's 6 that I have not created yet.
But they're not assigned.
None of those are your 6, so that's not a big deal. If you want your map, I need to know how much of the detail you want. They actually are in layers. There's a base land map. There is the mountains are a separate layer. The coloring, the shading is usually a separate layer, and so on. So I just need to know how much of it you want. And if you want to be able to play with different layers, I will actually send them to you as separate PNG files so you can modify them as you wish. Again, with the caveat, don't mess with the borders. But
Yeah,
other than that,
because unfortunately, I know you used Wonder Draft for all of the maps, right?
actually, no, I actually only used Wonder Draft for the base landmass. Everything else I did in Affinity. So I have separate layers and I can output each layer as a separate PNG file. So you can literally take the layers as I have them and layer them on top of each other and do whatever work you want to them, or add your own layers. So I've tried to make it very easy for you guys to take what we have and run with it. So that you
so
can
especially
really
if there's, I guess if there's anybody out there who is in the Photoshop category or whatever, or even even the free things. I use Paint.net all the time. Paint.net has an unlimited layering capability as well.
That's it.
So I could, for example, take this collection of PNG files, load them up one at a time into separate layers, and if I wanted to change the color of a forest, to make a jungle into a savanna, I could do that on that layer and then come back out with the result. So that's the kind of change. Again, if you want to take a shot at doing them yourself, I'm sure Kahuna will be more than happy to pass off the responsibility. Other than that, though, if there are just small twitchy changes that you need done and you don't really feel comfortable doing them, we will do our best to help you do those fine-tuning bits.
It'll just take a little longer. That's
Yeah.
So, I think we need to. I hear Mrs. Kahuna screaming at me. So
okay.
I'm going.
Well, it is time to wrap it up. And having said that, I'm going to jump to the next screen that I know is going to stay there, and then I do want to thank everybody that came to watch. I hope everybody is happy with their assignments, and those of you who are interested, Aegon, I know I saw you scroll by saying you want to be in now. Yeah, Siobhan mentioned GIMP, by the way, too.
Yep.
If there's anybody else out there, Esong, yeah, we'd like to have you. Again, just jump in early and grab a region. And that's the other thing. Even if we're putting out a prompt a week, there's no falling behind. There's no late. All right. If some prompts, there's going to be times when a prompt really doesn't apply to you. There's going to be other times where you're just too busy. Whether or not we still haven't decided what we're doing, for example, during Nano and during World Ember. We might just continue to put up prompts simply because it's more words that you can write. On the other hand, we definitely do not want to interfere, especially with the World Ember or the World Anvil event. We will not interfere with World Anvil events.
No.
I will tell you right now, when next summer camp comes around, we will take a month off from Synergasia prompts. All right, we're not going to slap 4 more prompts on you during a month of.
There will be one prompt.
Yeah.
Do your World Ember. do your World Anvil prompts. Complete some World Anvil prompts.
Yeah, I mean,
That'll
if we don't think it's going to interfere, like I said, I mentioned that we might lay off during World Ember, and I had a couple people say no, don't, because it's more words to write, and that's all that World Ember is really about. So we might be helping with World Ember. We might put out a flurry of prompts to help with World Ember. In fact, once we get through these couple of infrastructure type prompts, we will start asking some more interesting, specific questions that might, tickle you to go in certain directions in your world. But again, if you catch a prompt that doesn't apply to you or you don't think makes any sense, skip it. I'm sure you have something else to do that week instead of Synergasia. So these can be worked at your own pace. We're providing a canvas. You can fill it as fast as you want. All right, so I think that will be about it.
Thank you all.
Yep, thank you all for coming again. Let's see, is there anybody out there to be rated?
Oh, good question. I did not have my
my
calendar up. Let's take a look here. Aegon's here, so.
No, there is nobody out here to be rated.
Get out of here. There's actually a gap?
Yeah, apparently.
I know. Who the hell? Well, Aegon and Harold's table are actually supposed to be starting now. Aegon, are you going live?
I know I follow Harold's table on Twitch, and I do not see him up.
Okay. I know he came up late yesterday, I think. But otherwise, Aegon's supposed to be going up with.
That would be Roll. That's Roll Society, right?
It is the Roll Society. Yep.
Yeah, I follow them too, and they're not up. Aegon, are you going? Are you guys going to be up tonight, or? Forgot to cancel tonight. Okay.
Whoops. All right. Well,
I guess there's nobody to raid.
Nope.
Unless anybody has any good suggestions out there, but no, there's nobody on my follow list that's up. So
go play with your world. Go sign up on the Discord. I should probably do that one more time so you can.
Oh yeah, put up your Discord. It's been putting my Discord up here all the time, but
go to my Discord, sign up there. If you need map stuff, let me know there. That's where we can do that. It's also where you can communicate with the other authors and do collaborations and bad ideas around in the whole 9 yards. So it's just for the Synergasia authors, and I will make sure I have everybody up to date as an editor before I go to bed tonight. So I'll be up late again.
Well, it's early for you. It's only 5 o'clock for you, so you got all night yet.
But it's game night here, and there's a game of Cards Against Humanity waiting to be demolished.
E-song, I'm driving. What is everyone else's excuse? I hope you're at least dictating and not keying as you're driving. because I will come out and find you and slap you if you are.
Voice recognition.
Yeah.
Go with that. Go with that so Bob doesn't come after you. I gotta go, kids.
All right. Yep. It's time for us all to go. Again, thank you all for coming. Hope everybody has a good time. And we will see you.
Bye.
Goodbye.